Hello, and welcome to Some Kind of Podcast. This is a podcast where we entertain you by discussing what entertains us. I'm Tim, your hostess with the mostest, and obviously I'm joined this week by Christian.
Hey.
And Cody.
Hello.
If it is your first time listening, welcome. If this isn't your first time, welcome back, and welcome to episode number 10. Double digits, guys. Didn't know we'd make it this far. Yay. I knew we'd make it this far. So yeah, I believe before we came on to record for this, you guys were briefly talking about how Sony was getting rid of its community area for the PlayStation 4. I think that's what you're saying, Christian.
Yeah. And so I think a while back, Cody also brought up that they're also kind of getting rid of their movie and TV features on the PlayStation Store for both PS4 and PS5. So
well, it's non-existent on the 5. They just they never added it. I think what's happening is they're stripping the 4 of stuff so that they don't have to worry about it anymore, and they don't have to support it since it's not being supported on the 5. It's just an extra thing for them to do.
Yeah, and in their press release, they said something about how they've been analytically tracking their numbers, and most people are primarily doing or utilizing streaming services for their movie content, which I find kind of like not hard to believe. Like, I'm sure like a majority of the people are there, but I'm sure there was still quite a bit of people still using the movie store to rent. Because I mean, whenever I would go on my PlayStation 4, instead of going through like Amazon Prime or anything like that, like it was far easier just to use the store to rent a movie.
Oh yeah, it was my default.
I actually use the store to buy things because they usually had great deals.
That's also true.
Really honest. In fact, recently I just bought a whole bunch of stuff off the store because they had like a bundle deal going on with a bunch of like movies and stuff like that. And when I didn't have cable, I was actually using the store to buy episodes of Doctor Who so I could keep up with it because I didn't have BBC America.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's not going to be a thing that we're going to be able to do.
It's really have to use Amazon.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. That they're kind of stripping away stuff from the 4 when a lot of people are still kind of clamoring to get the PS5. There's still a lot of people without it, and they're already starting to kind of dial back the PS4 a little bit.
Yeah, it's a really weird atmosphere with the 5 and the 4 right now because I feel like, and I mean, don't quote me on it because I'm probably wrong, but I feel like when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, I feel like I remember them saying that like DLC or whatever for it was not going to be exclusive to the 5. But then it is exclusive to the 5.
And then the first piece of DLC became
exclusive to the 5, and people still can't get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even pre-order it unless you have a 5 at this point.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's very strange that they're going this hard on, like, canceling PS4 services when people still can't get a 5. Now, I know they're not giving up on the 4 yet. We're years away from that happening because they're still making games for the 4.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of the games you can play right now, as we discussed on other podcasts, are really just PS4 games you can play on your PS5.
Yeah.
It probably won't be until the second half of this year we really start seeing an influx of PS5 games.
And even then, a lot of new games that are coming out are just coming out on the 4. And like the PS5 version, if it exists, is down like in the next year or 2.
True.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're trying to streamline the PS4 just to be set up and look almost identical to what. I mean, I know the UI overall is never going to be on par with what it is on the 5.
No,
because they want to hold that over your head as a reason to buy the PS5. And since launched, as Cody said before, the movies and TV rental / buying option was never there. And then just the UI in general, they'd never brought over that community feature onto the PS5. That was something on the PS4. And I do remember another press release shortly thereafter launch last November where they claimed that I guess the community feature was something that took a lot of man hours to keep up with
Yeah.
and to kind of keep functioning. And then research on their end showed that not many people actually used it. So I guess on their end, they're just chopping it up to be just kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, I never use it. Like, to be honest with you, I didn't realize that you could edit your profile or whatever. It was essentially like a Facebook page for your gaming on your PS4, and I didn't even realize that until like a year and a half ago.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried to go a little too far into the like social feature kind of setup because like whatever I used it for whenever I turned on my PlayStation 4 was that I would take a quick gander as and see like, oh, let's see what like my friends were up to. Like, and it would show, like Cody or Tim has gotten this trophy or has played this game for the first time. And I was like, oh, that's cool. They're playing this game, or they just got that trophy, or they got this platinum or whatever. But I think going anything beyond just like a basic feed was kind of a mistake
Yeah.
because like no one was ever going to utilize a not full-fledged social media app when there's something way better you can bring up on your phone.
Right.
True. I mean, I don't know why they disconnected, because before you could share all your trophies and whatnot on like Facebook and stuff, and then that
Yeah, and
functionality.
then because I feel like that when that happened, when they disconnected Facebook, I feel like they had like the thought of like, okay, we're gonna make this social media thing on our system happen, and then it didn't happen, and then the 5 came out, and they were like, we're just forget it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I never really paid too much to the community aspect because my community was the two of you guys and Steven
Yeah.
and maybe Matt occasionally. So it didn't really, I didn't really care what other people were doing. So it was nice, like if you saw somebody get a trophy that you knew they were working on or was really hard, but like there's really no real purpose to it. So
Yeah.
I guess it could be why they get rid of it. Like I'm not saying like they're getting rid of everything on the PS4. It's just weird that they're starting to take things away from it already.
I mean,
When
the movie TV thing kind of makes sense at this point, given that like every network has their own streaming service now.
yeah,
So like it's really hard to compete with something like that when most of the movies that they're trying to sell, even on a discount, you can get on a streaming service for less money.
I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed it. They had a lot of great deals on there. I thought.
Oh,
I
it
didn't
was awesome.
I didn't use it often, but like every once in a while I go check it out. And it's just a shame that like
Yeah.
going away.
I will say that I think it shows a lot on Sony's and PlayStation's end to usually I feel like when big companies make decisions like this and say like, hey, we're taking away this feature, but don't worry because we're adding this or we're doing this.
Yeah, they're not
So like
adding
we're doing
anything.
something. Yeah, they're just like they've basically done this twice now where they're taking away a core feature and they're just like, yep, deal with it. So like I mean I guess like props to them to where they feel like they are in a situation they can just do whatever they want and that people are still going to buy their systems, and I'm sure they will.
I
But
mean, kind of. Yeah, they will.
Yeah, they
yeah.
will. I think it also comes down to like I think we'll start seeing more and more of those streaming services pop up on PSN because like as of right now, like you can't get AMC Plus or Paramount Plus or whatever. Like the newer streaming services still aren't on there. So my guess is they're gonna lean hard into that and just make deals with those companies so that they can get their apps on their system.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Makes sense.
like HBO Max wasn't there day one, and I remember
No.
like I brought it up to you guys one day. I was like, yeah, I just want to watch like Game of Thrones again, and it's not on there. And then one of y'all was like, it's on there, and
Yeah.
it had to have been within like a couple of days because I had just looked for it. So I feel like that's most likely what they're gonna do. They're just gonna slowly lean into the streaming services.
Speaking of streaming services, I just downloaded Peacock this week, and I
Yeah,
don't hate it.
it's all right. I've got it.
Is it a paid service or is it free?
Both you can
both.
pay for,
Yeah.
or it's free. It has kind of a tier system like Hulu, where like you can get the base one for free, but you're gonna get commercials, and then you can pay like $5 and you'll get some commercials. And then if you pay like 12 or whatever, you can get commercial free.
Yeah, I think I paid 10 or 12 for commercials.
Yeah. Although there are like live sporting. So the one thing cool about Peacock is that they'll put their live sporting events on there.
Yeah.
And sporting events, no matter what you pay, there still is commercials. But if you are into sports like me and don't necessarily have cable or watch cable a lot, they have sporting events, and they have it's not just like baseball and football and stuff like that too. Like they have like soccer and rugby and tennis and stuff like that too. They have like some odd sports. It's pretty interesting. I haven't messed around with it too much. I got it because I'm a big fan of the wrestling, and the WWE network, at least in America, is moving to Peacock exclusively. So if I wanted to continue to watch it, which they're obviously doing right in time for WrestleMania, I had to switch over, so I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy Peacock. Also, real quick, I want to talk about this because I found out as we're about to start recording, there's a God of War comic book, and I'm really excited about it. And I tried to buy it, and I don't know where to buy it in the city I'm in right now, and I couldn't find it anywhere online. But issue 1 dropped yesterday, and they might be bringing in Egyptian gods to the God of War universe.
Do you know who the publisher is?
Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
Can you not just order it from Dark Horse?
I found out like as like we were gonna start recording.
Oh, okay.
So like I've not looked into it. I could. I tried finding it on Amazon and it wasn't there, and then I tried eBay and it was more expensive than it would have been on it.
I got
Probably
you.
if I just went somewhere and bought it. And I don't know any comic shops in the area that I'm in, but I mean, I've always like low key wanted to be into comics. I feel like comics are something that I should like, and I don't know why. I mean, I like manga and stuff like that. So I mean, there's really no reason why I shouldn't like comic books. I just never really got into them, and every comic book series is just so far in depth now, like it's impossible to just like hop on any given one. So the fact that like it's a comic book series about a video game franchise that I love, and they only have one edition out right now, I'm just kind of like, where do I get it? Where do I hop on this train? I want it. Shut up and take my money. No, but I'm really excited because it looks like they're going to be expanding upon maybe that time that happened in between the end of God of War 3 and the beginning of the 2018 God of War, where it's all Norse mythology now. I don't know. I don't exactly know what the storyline's about. All I heard was that there might be like a little teaser for maybe some Egyptian god action coming to the God of War franchise, which would be a little interesting, but it all depends on what we got going on there. But I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I also didn't really know too much about this going in before today. I think I might have seen it pop up on one of my feeds on social media like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Someone saying that they like, hey, look what just came in the mail, and I was like, that exists.
Yeah, that's exactly how I saw. I'm part of a group on Facebook, and I was like, no way, shut up, this is cool. I had no idea. I hadn't heard anything about it. So
I just pulled it up on Dark Horse, and you can. There's a link to buy the print edition, right there, and you can just have it shipped to you.
Hell yeah!
You can also pre-order the next like 2 editions.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I know what I'm about to spend all my stimulus money on.
all $9 of these comics. Like they're $4. Well, they're $4 a piece. Sorry. $12.
Never mind.
My
We're
bad.
breaking. No. Anyway. Well, I know what I'm gonna be doing later tonight. But yeah, I'm really excited about it, and just wanted to briefly talk about that because I'm sure once I'm done with this, I'm going to order those, and then on a future podcast, I will be discussing them. So there's that. But moving along right here, I kind of wanted to do something kind of cool and fun with you guys. It's going to be a new segment. I'm tentatively calling this some kind of playlist. So essentially, well, first and foremost, we're going to offer up some songs. Each of us are going to pick 3 songs. Kind of switch it up. We're going to pick one song from each category that we have, and the categories are the ones we talk about: movies, TV, anime, video games. Just to put it out there, we're not actually going to play the song, and we don't have any rights to it, which is why we're not going to play it, and we're not claiming it in any way. This is just sort of like fan appreciation when it comes to this kind of thing, because a lot of these different types of media and games and what have you not have a lot of really great soundtracks to them. So it's kind of us giving a shout out to them. So yeah, each of us are going to put up an offering. There's a little bit of rules to this. So we must have one song from each category, like I said. So an example of an offering would be one song from an anime, one song from a video game, and maybe one song from a movie for the total of 3. We can only pick one song per any piece of media. So if we pick a song from Final Fantasy VII, like say if Cody does, he can't pick another song from Final Fantasy VII, unless the platform like switches over media. So for instance, Final Fantasy VII, there's a game and there's a movie. So Cody could pick a song from the game and then pick a song from Advent Children, the movie, and it counts because it's a different sort of media. And a song must be included in the show, movie, or game that we choose. Trailers don't count, and it has to be the original version or the closest to the original version. Trailers and variants don't count. It has to be something like if you were playing this game or watching this show or the movie or anime, you would hear this song in it. And then if you wanted to look at the list, it's all compiled online and at somekindofentertainment.net. You can go to the segments category, and there's some kind of playlist segment category, and you will see all our playlists, and you can come check them out and enjoy the stuff that we like listening to when we're being entertained, so to speak. So we're gonna throw it over to Christian. What are your 3 offerings, my man?
Yeah, so I'll start off with video games, I guess. So Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. And
Solid game.
yes,
so good.
And so I'm gonna do the intro song from the beginning of that game, Sanctuary, by the artist. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's Hikaru Utada, I believe. So yeah, so that's my pick for video games.
No worries in the pronunciation.
Yeah. Do you want me to go and run through the list?
Yeah, go ahead and do all 3.
Okay. And so for a movie category, I'm gonna do the first Guardians of the Galaxy from the Marvel Universe. The name of the song is "Hooked on a Feeling." It's played. I don't think it's definitely not in its entirety, but it's just a small portion of the song. They play it like right as they're all being admitted into the prison.
Yeah, I think it's on like the headphones. You can hear it, and the dude puts them on or whatever.
Yeah. And then that's by the artist Blue Suede. And then from anime, my pick is Seven Deadly Sins, and the name of the song is actually also Seven Deadly Sins. And the band that sings that is Man with a Mission. It's also, side note, probably one of the most amazing anime intros, that really gets you.
Was this an intro?
Yeah. So this is an
Which
intro. I think the only other one that rivals this, in my personal opinion, is the first or I guess the only intro to Soul Eater. Did Soul Eater have more than one intro?
It did. It had
Yeah.
Paper Moon and something else.
Okay, yeah, the first one. Was that Paper Moon?
Paper Moon was the second one.
What was the first one?
I can't remember.
I have no idea.
Anyway. So anyway, the first one in the Soul Eater soundtrack or whatever for the intros is probably the only one that rivals this, in my personal opinion, for being just absolutely gets you pumped for the show. So yeah, that's my pick.
I still feel like Attack on Titan, like that first one.
Yeah.
That first one,
whatever it's called,
and
German.
Maybe it's just because I'm biased, but I love the Cowboy Bebop opening.
That's a classic.
Oh, so good.
I love the Cowboy Bebop closing, the real folk loop.
Yeah, that's also a good one.
Yeah, but those aren't my offerings.
Yeah, those aren't mine either. I just ranting anyway.
I'm just anyway. I like your picks, Chris, especially Sanctuary.
Yeah, Sanctuary is amazing.
Probably the best one in the series. It's better than 3 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely better than 1, and I didn't really play a lot of the handhelds. Sanctuary is a banger for real. I haven't listened to the Seven Deadly Sins. I've watched Seven Deadly Sins. So which season is this an intro to?
So this is it's not the very first one. It's the second half of the first season.
So I didn't make it that far. So
the way the Seven Deadly Sins seasons works is they do like the first half, it's like an intro, and then they usually change it up for like the last half.
I
And it's
gotcha.
been like that for like kind of the all the seasons thus far. But yeah, so I will say in Seven Deadly Sins, the one of the things that it doesn't do well on is plot or like storyline, and so I think that's where it loses a lot of people.
That's where it
But if you
lost
can
me.
get past that, if you can just don't think about that because it doesn't make sense. It is an
Very fan
amazing
servicey
show
show.
and has some of the
Yeah.
best character development. I love it.
I mean, Meliodas is dope, and I like Bond, and I think King is my favorite because
King is absolutely my favorite.
he's the sin of sloth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think
That's the pillow.
King's my favorite. All right, well, I like your free picks, and I can refresh myself on that intro by going to your playlist on our website. So, Cody, moving on to you. What are your three offerings? Oh, messed up there. What are your three offerings there, my brother?
My three offerings. Let's see. So for anime, I think it's just battle music from the show, but the song is called Dragon Force from Fairy Tail.
Not to be confused with the heavy metal band.
Yeah, not the band Dragon Force. From the anime Fairy Tail, the song is called Dragon Force.
Yeah.
It's from the original soundtrack. I absolutely love that song. And I'm pretty sure it pops up in like the really big epic battle scenes.
I
Most of them.
know the song you're talking about, and I'm pretty sure anytime they do something uplifting towards each other, or anytime Natsu does something cool, this is playing in the background.
Yeah, to some degree, because it's a I think it's a longer song too. It's like 4 minutes.
Oh, it's pretty long.
And I'm
Yeah,
fairly certain in at least the first parts of like the first like 20 some episodes or whatever, this is playing when they're doing the intro to the like the title
part of it
sequence.
is. Part of it is. Yeah, it's the bagpipes.
Yeah,
That
played
that running
often.
melody plays in a lot of songs.
It's played often throughout the whole entire series, I believe.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, no, I love that. Okay, so for movie, I did almost exactly what you said in the beginning.
It's a good example, so that's why I keep using it.
Yeah, so I, for my movie, not game, I went with Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, the movie, and picked One Winged Angel, which I know technically, yes, this version of the song was used in the remake, but it came from the movie. So
I mean,
I'm a loophole it in. I don't care what you say.
I would honestly consider the remake a different game because it is essentially a
I
different
mean,
game.
it is, yeah, but still, that's my movie pick because that was the first
Solid
time.
song, by the way, because like that when that guitar hits.
Yeah, it's like Jimi Hendrix meets classical like opera in a lot of ways. It was so good.
And I've heard like I guess they can't do it because obviously now it's licensed to Advent Children or whatever, but I've heard One Way to play live with the guitar and it's not like that song.
No, it's not. But yeah, no, I love that song. And then my video game is another Final Fantasy game from Final Fantasy 14, the MMO. If you haven't played it, it's pretty good. I picked the main theme from the last DLC, Shadowbringers.
Technically, it's still the current one.
Yeah,
but
well, the fact that I mean they just announced Endwalker.
yeah.
But yeah, the Shadowbringers main theme is my video game choice because that song is so good.
Yes, it's very long and has different, as like with most 14, it starts slow but builds really quickly, and then
Yeah, it has modern instruments. It's not just singing. It's very anime in a lot of ways.
You
I
played
mean,
that off so low key when you were just like, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, if you haven't played it yet. How many hours between you two do you have logged?
You can shut your face.
I have days. It's bad, and I'm about to re up because Endwalker's coming out. So in the next couple of months, I'm re-upping, so it's about to be more.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in like 2,500 hours or something like that at this point.
But
I don't know.
Cody has more than me and has been playing for a shorter period of time.
I think I've
I
played.
got a good year and a half on you before you guys started, because you started in Heaven's Ward.
Well, I mean, I started in the alpha on the PS4 because you got me into it
Mm-hmm.
because you were playing on the PC with Kyle,
Yes.
and then they announced it for the PS4, and I got into the alpha, and I played that, and then I came in right before Heaven's Ward because I had pre-ordered Heaven's Ward, and then that's when I started like really getting into it.
So you said you have about 2,500 hours in right now?
Shut up, something like that.
You played the most during Stormblood, though. I think is when he had hit his peak.
Yeah,
Do you
into Heaven's
realize-
Ward, into Stormblood.
That's when you were in the Free Company, yeah.
Yeah, I mean technically I'm still in it, but yeah.
Yeah.
If you
Yes, but whatever.
divide 2,500 by 24, that is 104 days.
Shut up.
It could be an over exaggeration.
Well, it's
I
not
don't
that.
think it is.
It's not that. Isn't there a way to check your game time?
Yeah.
It's if you go on, I know on PlayStation 5 it's easy if you just go up to your profile and tab down to games.
Well, while Cody's looking that up to figure out what his actual gameplay was for Final Fantasy 14, I'll go ahead and give up my 3 offerings. So for I did a television one. I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. So I did the I Am the Doctor theme. It is the theme that is played most often linked with Matt Smith's version of the Doctor whenever he was doing something zany or wonky.
Let the Wookiee win.
I can't
Cross between
talk.
Wookiee and Wonky.
Yeah.
I can't talk today. Anyway, anytime he was being especially anytime he was just being himself, or solving something or being just magnificent or whatever, this was kind of playing in the background most frequently with his Doctor. I think it's played a couple times with Peter Capaldi, but they kind of drop it. It's more of like the 11th Doctor kind of thing. So that is mine for the television one. For anime, I also went a fairy tale route, but instead of picking a song that was going throughout the whole entire thing, I picked an opening, and I picked the intro to Fairy Tale number 3. It's just called FT. It's by Funkist, I think is what they're called. And it's the third intro to Fairy Tale. So it comes in because they switch up the intros about every 18 to 20 episodes. So you're looking like this is probably like, 50 to 60 episodes deep when they get to this one. But it's a banger, dude. And every time it came on, I never skipped it. I always listened to it. I have it on my playlists when I go for walks and stuff like that. It's full on Japanese, so I don't know anything what they're saying. So I don't know, besides Domo Arigato, I don't know anything in Japanese. So I don't know what they're saying, but it's a very one of those heart pumping induced kind of like songs that you can listen to.
So since you both brought up Fairy Tale now, so what was like your favorite arc?
Tim hasn't finished it yet.
I haven't finished yet, but the Grand Magic Games was mine.
Yeah,
from where I'm at.
Yeah, the Grand Magic Games is by far the best arc in that.
When Natsu, I don't mean to get off topic here, but when Natsu takes on the other 2 Dragon Slayers by himself, I was like, this is so cool. Anyway, let me stop fangirling there for a second. But yeah, the intro to Fairy Tale number 3, FT by Funkist. And then my third offering is a video game one. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Persona 5. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this podcast or not.
Ever.
I don't know if I've done a review for Persona 5 Strikers or not. You can find on YouTube. I had a hard time picking which song, and the reason why there's all these rules that Cody's going to find loopholes for to get as many Final Fantasy tracks as he can on there
from 7. because there's so many different spin-offs. And if we're
Yeah.
calling remake a new game, yeah, it's open season.
The reason why I put so many rules is so I personally didn't pick every single song on the Persona 5 soundtrack and try to get some sort of variety in here. So I had a hard time picking one. It's like picking, your favorite dog if you have dogs or something like that. It was so hard. Um, but essentially almost like flipped a coin and just went with one because it was between two choices. It was between Rivers in the Desert, which is so such a good song, and it happens in like a boss fight that's really really cool. Um, or the song I actually chose, which is I Believe, which appears in actually Persona 5 Royal, which even though it's different from Final Fantasy 7, it's not really a remake or a different game. It's just the same game but with DLC. So I unfortunately I'm not going to allow it to be a different game than Persona 5. Although there is other versions of Persona 5, like the dancing game and Persona 5 Strikers, that might be able to swing on there. But for right now, I'm considering Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal different games. So, or sorry, the same game. So I chose I Believe, which is on Persona 5 Royal, which is the um, uh, music that is played in the last and final dungeon that you have to. It's called a palace, but it's the music that's playing when you're doing your final infiltration on your way to the boss fight.
I will say you had your decision cut out for you because that game had a lot of
Dude, there's
amazing
so
songs.
many. I mean, there's just so many. Like I said, the whole reason I put all these rules is because I could easily think of like 10 off the top of my head that I'd want on a playlist. But in order to like prevent me from doing that, I chose one and it was hard. But I guess I can probably get Rivers in the Desert on there somewhere because I'm sure it might even be in Persona 5 Strikers. I haven't even quite finished yet, so it could be in there too. I don't know. It's a very vastly popular song. That and like Last Surprise is always a big one, and I like them all. So I can keep talking about it, but I'm gonna stop. So those are my three offerings, and that's kind of our playlist situation that we have going on there. If you want to know more about them, we'll probably do the segment again. Every once in a while, we'll offer up three different ones going forward and have a compilation list of our 2021 playlists. You can find them all on some kind of entertainment.net. And feel free to listen to them because with the exception of the song that Christian mentioned, I think I heard all of those songs and they're all so good. So, um,
Hey, Tim.
yeah.
I don't know about you, but I want to follow up. Cody, did you ever figure out
Oh, yes.
your time?
I did. So it was a slight over exaggeration. It wasn't quite 2,500.
Was it over 2000?
Yes. It's 2,238.
It was pretty close.
And you kind of rounded up there.
Rounded up a little bit.
Hey, you'll get to 2,500 with the next DLC. So.
Stop.
And then you'll be at 104 days or whatever it was that
Yeah.
Christian calculated. But hey, I wasted. I said I'm probably in like the 60s myself, so don't feel too bad. To be fair, and I don't know, like about you, Cody, but there were a lot of times that like I was playing, but I wasn't really playing. It was just open while I was either chatting with somebody or doing other things. I just had the thing open.
I mean, yeah, there were plenty of AFK moments where, like,
and that still counts for your time.
Yeah, you're just sitting there. So yeah, I'm sure that there's, I hope a couple hundred. I doubt there's that many hours, but there's some hours in there.
I know for a fact that there's at least probably 30 or 40 where I was talking to somebody.
Like I guarantee I've fallen asleep AFK in that game before.
I'm sure.
Pretty sure you've fallen asleep in that game while we were all in the party.
I've fallen asleep in our party a few times.
You've fallen asleep while you were our tank.
Yeah, that's true. I did do that. I fell asleep in a fight because I was your tank. That is truth that you're speaking, sir.
Anyway, we can have a whole conversation about 14 and other podcasts.
I also want to point out that I know for a fact that Christian has, if not at, close to 400 hours in Warzone.
Oh, it's probably up there. Yeah.
because
So we're always gonna start calling each other out for how much we play in games. Okay, time
But
to
to
I
be
have
fair,
382, and I know
Okay, I was
you've
gonna-
played it more than I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we break up the podcast, on, and we're gonna talk about underappreciated media. And when I say this, I'm talking about like movies, games, TV, anime, books, whatever you want. You guys talk about songs if we want to tie in what we were just talking about of that didn't necessarily receive the praise it should have. Now that doesn't mean that nobody out there knows it or this is some like hidden gem that like you're going to introduce the world to that they had no idea. It could have a cult following, it could not. It's just something that you personally are drawn to that like you think like this might have been overlooked and didn't necessarily get the praise that it should have. So what are some examples that you guys have of that kind of stuff?
Well,
Cody.
for me, the most blaring is the Pendragon book series.
And it's actually what kind of spurred on this conversation because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Because I got you into it, I don't even know how long ago.
It was before we were living together, so I don't know, 6-7 years now.
Yeah, maybe even more.
It was 2013, so almost 10 years.
Yeah, almost 10 years. Yeah, I was gonna say because we were at the old movie house.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's a 10-book series about. I don't even know. I wouldn't call it time travel, dimensional travel. Yeah, there is
like,
some aspect of time travel.
Yeah, in certain parts, basically, there's like different. They're called territories.
Yeah,
and it's about people that they're called travelers. So it's about people that travel in between them for.
they had to be like born into it though.
Yeah, I'm rereading them right now because we talked about it, and I was kind of like, I only read that series once, and it was really good, and I knew I flew through it.
Yeah.
So I'm rereading it, and I'm on the second book of 10 right now, so I have still a long way to go.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody if you decide to read it, but like I highly recommend it. Like it's one of those like to me, it should have been as popular as Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Like it should have had movies or a TV show, game, whatever. Like it deserved that amount of attention, and it didn't get it because it's so good.
yeah.
Like I cannot recommend those books enough.
There's really not a whole lot more you can talk about it because then you'll start getting like the spoiler
Yeah.
kind of areas. The story, it's for children. Like when I bought the books, it was like this would be good if you had a 10-year-old, and I was like, well, I'm 32 and I'm buying them, and I don't really care. But for a story that's supposed to be, for like middle school age reading levels, it's very intricate.
It's really intricate, and it's one of the series.
DJ McHale, by the way, in case.
Yeah. My bad. Yeah, DJ McHale. It's one of those series similar to Harry Potter, where like the book sort of grew up with the readers that it was intended for, because in Books a Million, it was in the same section as Harry Potter.
I remember having to go to like the kids section.
Yeah, it's like right adjacent to the kids section. You're
Yeah,
like, ooh, this is
I'm
weird.
20 years old. There's
Yeah.
nothing weird here. I just want to buy this Harry Potter book.
I walk up to the guy, like I'm looking in like like non like fiction and stuff, and where like Game of Thrones is at, and then I go, where's Pendragon? And they're like, you see the squeaky toys and
See that rainbow
confetti
colors
and the rainbow? It's over there. Okay. Where? It's next to the Winnie the Pooh books under Harry Potter.
castle that
Yeah.
we made out of books.
You're like, okay. But
So
like,
I have never
so good.
actually read any of these books. I can recall them being at like book fairs and stuff growing up. And then like of course like at bookstores and seeing them being on like end caps and marketed towards like you were saying the Harry Potter audience. So what's the premise of the series? Like what's like the basic?
well, it's sort of like what Tim was saying is there's travelers from the various different territories. There's one for each one, and they have a handler basically.
Yeah.
And then there's a Voldemort-esque character that is a shapeshifter, and essentially his goal is to infiltrate a territory, install himself into a
Sort of
position
like
of power, and then take it
poison.
down.
Yeah, he's sort of like poison, where he like influence. He doesn't cause any
Yeah,
trauma
he
inside.
himself doesn't like straight up like push the nuke button, but he
Yeah.
tries to influence events to happen that would like destabilize and destroy a society.
Anyway, it follows this kid named Bobby Pendragon
Yeah.
and his Uncle Press.
And each book is vastly different from the last one because each book takes place in a different territory. Like one territory is like a medieval type deal. One territory is like
Underwater.
underwater. One's in like a virtual reality.
There's one where like it's ruled by like these cat-like people. I think.
Yeah.
If I remember.
Yeah, I think that's 5.
Yeah, it's a
So
weird.
is the main character traveling through time?
No,
No.
more space.
It's more space. There is so there and there's it's very different various different books. There's a first Earth, a second Earth, and a third Earth territory. First Earth is like I think it's centered around like when the Hindenburg crashes.
Like the 30s.
Yeah, and then second Earth is like present day,
Yeah.
and then third Earth is the future. But then there's like I said, there's that like medieval territory. There's the
Virtual
underwater, the virtual reality, the cat people place. It's sort of like Planet of the Apes, but with cat people.
It's just like jungle area.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like I said, for a book that's like marketed towards middle school age kids, it is very.
It gets dark.
Very interesting and very dark.
Yeah.
Especially as we get later on in the series, much like Harry Potter.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't recommend them enough. Like I said, I'm rereading them, and until after Cody introduced it to me, and then it's been almost 10 years, and up until like legitimately 2 or 3 days ago when I was reading it and I brought it up to somebody, I never met another person that had read them, and then someone at my theater has read them.
Oh wow. Yeah, literally the only people I know that have read them.
The theater I used to work at, I should say.
Yeah, the only people I know that have read them are people that I've introduced to it, and that's you and our friend Heather.
Yeah.
And that's it.
If you like reading, Christian, you should check it out.
Yeah. They're very good.
Finally graduate and I can read for pleasure again.
Any other underappreciated things you can think of, Cody, or should I move on to Christian?
I mean, there's a ton. Like, I mean, like to me, I don't think Jack and Daxter ever got the hype that it deserved. But I mean, at the time, I was really young, so it very well could have. I just know that it's not. Obviously, they didn't continue it, and I think it to me would warrant a new game today. But I don't think Naughty Dog's ever going to do it. But
In the same ilk, I've never played it, but I think you guys might have, and maybe we can talk about at one point. Sly Cooper.
Yeah, I never played Sly Cooper.
Yeah, that's actually on my list.
Well, I hear it's really good. Anyway, you're talking about Jack and Daxter.
Yeah, like I feel like from my friends, like you either played Ratchet and Clank or Jack and Daxter.
Played neither. Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Another one.
But yeah, like I only knew like 2 people that played Jack and Daxter growing up. But I mean, it was Naughty Dog, so I'm sure that it had. I mean, obviously it has a following, but like I don't know if it was big or whatever.
I played it. I played it with my older sister. We would take turns playing it. I don't think we kept up with the series as much as I did some of the other, like cartoony platformers from back in the day.
It's a huge jump from 1 to 2.
Really? I don't think
in terms of gameplay.
Just like ramping up difficulty.
Well, no, like 1 is essentially a platformer, right? It's like Crash Bandicoot, where it's just spin attacks and punches and stuff. and then like very minimal technology in the game. Like it's like a primitive world, and then it immediately jumps to like a future world with hovercraft, guns, and all kinds of stuff.
Oh wow.
Like it
Okay.
takes a huge leap from 1 to 2, and then 3 is also in that like futury realm.
Gotcha.
No, I know, Cody, that you're pretty notorious or having this notoriety about you for kind of appreciating a bad quote unquote movie. Uh, so I'm just kind of curious if you have anything to offer up for that kind of thing.
Uh, okay, it depends on what you mean by bad movie, because
That's what I'm saying. Bad, quote unquote,
The
bad.
popular opinion is that
so
it's bad.
I don't like those movies. The only like, are we talking Dragon Ball Evolution or are we talking like Strange Wilderness? Because there's a big difference.
Like Strange Wilderness, I
Okay,
think.
so like movies that didn't do well in theaters, but I think they're
Yeah,
great. Okay,
yeah,
because Dragon Ball Evolution is horrible, and Last Airbender, or well, the live action movie was terrible.
yeah.
I don't like those movies. Um, but movies like Grandma's Boy and Strange Wilderness, I love those movies. But yeah, I guess universally when they came out, they were seen as
So
terrible.
I was going to talk about Grandma's Boy when I get a chance. So, but since you brought it up, I'm just going to talk about it now. That is the movie that I think is completely underrated.
Oh yeah,
Because it was in theaters for like a week.
yeah, at least, if not less.
Yeah. Um, and I love that movie. I absolutely love it. I can watch it at any point in time, and I can still laugh at it, even though I know all the jokes. And in fact, it got so bad that like I think that there was me and another associate named Zach at Ye Old Movie House back in the day when I worked there, and we both loved that movie so much, and we watched it so many times that like we would just quote it to each other. And I'm pretty sure there was one day that we were stuck in box office together, and we essentially quoted the whole movie to one another in some various format. Maybe not like the intricate, like detailed parts of it, but like all the high notes, we hit all of them for the whole entire movie. And it didn't perform well at all, and it since has gotten like a cult following
Oh yeah, it's
since.
huge since it failed in theaters.
Yeah. um but like it has like just the humor is hilarious in it. uh it's all dumb, stupid stoner humor, which
I
I'm not
mean,
saying
we've
advocating, but
we we've quoted that movie so much in our group, it's ridiculous.
oh man, I love it.
Mr. Chiso.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, so you guys quoted it so much
Uh-huh.
a few years
High
back.
score, did I break it?
And then I finally was like, what the heck are you guys quoting? And you're like, have you never seen Grandma's Boy? And I remember coming over to your apartment. I think it might have been when we were doing like a board game night or something. And you guys
Maybe.
turned it on in the background. And I was just like, what the heck is this movie? Like, it was great, but like, I was just like, what are we watching?
I was a bird, and then I turned into a dolphin, and I dove into the yeah.
Why are you getting a lion? To protect my stuff.
We taught the monkey kung fu.
And then I looked up into the tree, and it was the king of the jungle. I'm leaving out all the curse words. It's a very hard R movie.
Yeah, it's a very hard R movie, but it's
So
so good.
there's probably all that stuff I just said. There's a lot of curse words in between what I
Yeah.
said, but like, it's hilarious. Um, but yeah, since you brought up Grandma's Boy, that is clearly one of my favorite movies of all time, and it is completely 100% underrated
Oh yeah.
and unappreciated in all formats.
Nope. I feel that way about Grandma's Boy and Strange Wilderness.
Yeah,
Thank you, Steven, for introducing me to Strange Wilderness.
Strange Wilderness was okay. I didn't like it as much as Grandma's Boy, but it is humorous.
It's not as good as Grandma's Boy.
The when they're doing the talkovers for the animals, that's probably the funniest part of the movie by far.
I almost pass out from laughing every time it gets to the shark.
Christian, what you got?
So real quick before I go into what I've got, just out of curiosity, I looked up both of those movies. on Rotten Tomatoes, and Grandma's Boy has a 16%. But what's worse, Strange Wilderness has a 2, like single digits, 2%.
Oh, it's amazing. That's
Wow.
that is
That makes me want to
amazing.
watch it.
It's
I haven't
so
seen that one.
good. It's so good. It's really bad, but it's good.
I watched Grandma's Boy with you guys. I don't think I've watched Strange Wilderness though.
We watched it.
I think Tim, I think me, you, and Steven watched it,
When I
and
came and visited once.
yeah,
Yeah, that might be it.
and Christian was still in like Clinton or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that place.
All right, Christian, what you got for me?
All right, so I guess I'll start with video games since Cody kind of touched on this area anyway. Since he brought up Jak and Daxter, what I always refer to as like the original core cartoony animated platformer games for PlayStation is Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and Sly Cooper. And I find it very surprising how few people have played one or if any of these, but let alone all three. I
Yeah,
love
there
all
are
of them.
3 of them.
If I had to put them in order for me personally, I think you'd go Ratchet and Clank 1, then Sly Cooper, and then Jak and Daxter's on a personal level. But so I know Ratchet and Clank is of course getting its big launch on the PlayStation 5 with the Rift Apart here in just a couple months. And so I'm like, really excited for that and hoping it reels in a large new audience. The game kind of trickled off after the first couple iterations. Like there was the first one that was successful as far as PlayStation 2 era games go. And then it had the sequel. And I think there was even a third one on the PlayStation 2. And then there was a bunch of just kind of like side stories that kind of strewed along in the PlayStation 3. And I think that's kind of either where they lost a bunch of people or people didn't really know what it was. And since it was a continuation of an older game, you had new fans coming along that didn't really know what the series was. And so when they did the remake of the original game on the PlayStation 4 a few years back, I think that was amazing on their part, on Insomniac's decision to do that, because it introduces a whole new audience to the franchise. And I'm hoping that everyone who plays it, of course, loves it and will carry over to Rift Apart on PlayStation 5.
I would say that's basically what happened to Spyro. Like they made those, like the original 3 games, and then every spin-off after the original 3 games were like they weren't as good, because like they came during like the PS2 era, and they tried to do things differently, and it didn't work. Like Spyro was voiced by Elijah Wood, and then they gave Sparks a voice, and it was David Spade, which was okay,
Joe
like
Dierte was voicing him.
yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, no, I agree with you. Like I feel like those games definitely, all of them just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, no, I think out of all the 3, I think Ratchet and Clank, if I had to guess, probably still has the biggest following. And then I think it's probably Jak and
Probably
Daxter.
that's
And
probably
then,
why it's getting like a remake.
Yeah.
And
Or
then it's
not a
probably
remake, a new game.
and then it's followed probably by Jak and Daxter, and then I think Sly Cooper is probably just kind of on the bottom.
Yeah, Sly Cooper didn't really go anywhere.
No, it didn't. And like that was probably my pick above Ratchet and Clank for my list of just kind of underappreciated games, just because it's, I mean, not just because my favorite
I was gonna
animal
say,
is a
aren't you a
raccoon,
little biased?
but I mean, like, so I liked raccoons, and then the first game came out, and I was like, I feel like this game was made for me. So
Yeah.
like I never even gave it a second thought. I saw it like in the game store and like saw that it was a raccoon on the front cover, and I was like, well, yep, this is mine now. And it got like, so just as far as like the platforming puzzling aspect of it. And so that was kind of the question I was asking about when you were saying the transition from 1 to 2. So the first Sly Cooper game had basic, platforming that was kind of somewhat difficult. But then when you shift to 2, it got so hard. Like it was ridiculous. I don't think I ever beat the second Sly Cooper game. I haven't played it
There
forever.
was a sequel. I thought there was only one.
Yeah, there's a few actually. I don't think I played Beyond 2, honestly.
I think there was one on the PS3.
So they can't. I don't know if there was one for the PS3. I know there was a collection that came out.
Maybe
for
that's
it,
what it was.
but regardless, I definitely would love to see it brought to. I was hoping to see it brought over to the 4 because I think when that collection came out was in the launch year of PlayStation 4, and I was gonna get it, but I had already like traded in all my stuff and was getting ready for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Similarly to how I missed out on Ratchet and Clank.
Well, it's like
Into the Nexus that came out that year.
with Jack and Dexter, I think there's technically 6 games. So there's Jack 1, 2, and 3, which are the main 3, and then there was Jack X Racing, and then there was Daxter for the PSP, and then I want to say there was another Jack and Daxter game that I never played and the community hated immediately. And it wasn't like Jack and Daxter 4. I think it was on the PSP. And it was technically a continuation, but everyone hated it and it did terribly. And I think that's what killed the series.
Yeah.
So I really hope they reboot it or something sometime because so good.
I guess I should also restate that I know there are other platformers from back in like that age, like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, but those are both extremely popular till this
Yeah.
day, so I didn't include those in
Oh
this list.
yeah.
But anyway, so as far as movies go on my end, I've got a bunch that like I grew up watching with my dad that like I loved before the MCU existed. You know, like my go-to superhero flicks were just these random obscure ones. The two that came to mind off the top of my head was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen
Great
Oh,
movie.
that's a great movie.
Great
That's a
movie.
Yeah.
and The Phantom. Two
Oh,
movies that I
I don't think I've
absolutely
seen that.
love. It's great. I can't remember the actor's name that plays the Phantom, but it's kind of, I think it's a DC character, I think. But it's anyway, it's an older film. I highly suggest going back and watching it. But League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by far, I think, is like my top pick for movies that are underappreciated. Just
Yeah.
because it was like before Disney or Marvel or anything thought about bringing something like that onto screen. It was like this, you know, the first big shot at a on-screen Avengers-esque like a semblance of all these different characters. I just thought it was really cool. And I think I'm pretty sure of like everything else out there, it's based off of comics that I've never read. But I absolutely love the movie. I thought the humor in it was amazing. And yeah, I don't know. You guys have both watched it though, yeah?
I was gonna say, I think that and Van Helsing
Van Helsing's a good one too.
are both underappreciated.
I really like Van Helsing. I think Hugh Jackman did a great job.
Yeah. But to add to it, because you reminded me of like, you know, like the Avengers team up stuff. I think one of the most underappreciated shows ever. I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier. Is Smallville. Because I know a lot of people hate Superman. Like honestly, out of the DC characters, he is my second favorite. But like he's one of the most OP superheroes ever, and his movies are always pretty cheesy. But Smallville, I think, is really good. One, because it's, you know, it's before he's Superman, but it's also the first show, because it's the show that sparked the CW,
Yeah.
the Arrowverse. And it had not all the same actors, but it had like, at one point the Green Arrow and Flash and yeah, like all of them, Aquaman, in the show, and they did you know like their team up stuff.
So I try to get into Smallville, and admittedly, it's a pretty good show for being, you know, no offense to CW,
I mean,
being on CW.
Yeah.
But here's my problem with the show. It's real long.
It's long and dated.
It is 20 plus season or 20 plus episode seasons that are all an hour long.
Yeah.
It is
There's like 9 seasons or something like that.
10. There's 10.
10,
and they're
yeah.
all 20 plus episode seasons, and they're all an hour long.
Yeah.
So you have to like really truly invest. And in the beginning of quarantine, I had nothing but free time. So I watched, I think, 3 seasons of it. and it was good. Like, don't get me wrong, I got into it, but like now I'm at a point where like I don't know where I left off, and I'd have to like start somewhat over again, and I'm just not ready to go back to that. Yeah, but for what it was worth, when I saw it, it was really good. It can be a little melodramatic and teeny at times.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's a dated teen drama.
Yeah, it's an early 2000s show for sure.
But it's really good.
Yeah.
And then finally, my last one that I wanted to bring up, and honestly, on a personal level, this movie is probably in my top 10 movies of all time, just favorite, is The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Oh, me and you agree on that so much and so often.
Like,
I just The Mummy, but
I absolutely loved it. Like the humor, just everything about it, the action, just like I get that how cheesy it was and how weird it was, but I loved every moment of it.
It looks like we have all the horses.
Looks like you're on the wrong side of the river.
So stupid. It's so good.
who would have thought Brendan Fraser would be an action star?
Oh man, so good. Not the third one.
Yeah, no, don't watch.
Just the first two. Just the first two.
The Scorpion King?
No, Scorpion King was a spinoff.
Yeah, so the third one is
Scorpion King in one of the mummies?
Yeah, they had the rocket. It's one of the worst CGI ever put into a movie ever.
Oh, it's early 2000s.
Like ever. But The Rock showed up as a literal half man, half scorpion, and then they did the Scorpion King later as a spinoff.
Yeah,
it's like a prequel.
Yeah.
To show how we arrived and how he got where he got. But yeah, no, the third one that's terrible. That still it has Brendan Fraser, but
it has some redeeming qualities. But they recast and
yeah, his wife is recast. I think his kid's recast.
Well, his kid's older. His kid's like a young adult teenager in that movie.
Anyway, it's not great.
Yeah. And not to harp on it too much, but the new Mummy movie is god awful.
Yeah, Tom Cruise, you did not need to do that.
Yeah, I think we talked about this. It was not a good, because they were trying to do like a more serious one, because they were trying to do like a monster universe. Because it wasn't like it's supposed to tie into hold on, I'll talk about it here in a second. But it wasn't supposed to tie into like that one like vampire movie, like I, Dracula or something, or I, Frankenstein or whatever.
Oh well.
Dracula
Untold was supposed to keep going, and then it didn't. And then I think they were going to do something where they tried to bring it back, but they never did. And Dracula Untold was actually pretty good. But
all right. So here's what I have to add to our list of underappreciated things. We already kind of talked about Grandma's Boy, because there's my all-time favorite. But another movie that is really truly unappreciated is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, when you say the title out loud,
so good.
When you say the title out loud, it sounds ridiculous. And to be fair, the movie is ridiculous.
At least the title pretty much tells you right off the bat what you can expect.
Yeah, like in the trailer, he's chopping down a tree in one swing. Like his main weapon is an axe. It also doubles as a gun. They're doing I have it on Blu-ray too. I watched it. I think I watched it with you, Cody.
Yeah, we definitely saw like a screening of it or something.
And I remember walking out of the movie like, this was the greatest movie of all time. It's directed by the guy that did Wanted.
Yep.
So it is like, take Wanted, but then put it in like the 1800s, because it's all the same like slow motion, crazy, redonkulous fight scenes that were in Wanted, except it's in the 1800s, and the main character is Abraham Lincoln fighting vampires. How can you not love this movie?
What's his face? Falcon.
Anthony Mackie.
Isn't he in it?
I think so. Yeah. I think he's a vampire.
I think so.
Yeah.
But he's trying to kill all the vampires. He's a slayer.
He's a good vampire.
He's like Blade.
Yeah. He's like maybe he is Blade. I don't remember.
That would be what a tie-in. Oh man, make it happen, Marvel. Bring it back.
I would watch
I'm ready for another.
Oh,
I'm ready for a
I'll be
sequel.
first in line to see that one. Yeah,
Like,
because it
give me Barack Obama Vampire Slayer.
not
Let's
to.
go.
I would watch it, especially because you could probably get Barack Obama to do it. I'd watch Vampire Slayer. I would totally watch that movie. I would day one.
Oh
I'm
my
not even trying to be
god.
political. That just sounds like a funny
That just
movie.
sounds so dumb that it's gonna be good.
Well, I mean, not to spoil anything, but at the end of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, I mean, Abraham Lincoln goes on to become president and eventually gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
So, spoiler: Abraham Lincoln dies. But it is alluded to that he might have been turned into a vampire at the end of the movie.
Well, Anthony Mackie's at the end.
Like, yeah, like
It's like modern day, and he's sitting next to somebody else in a bar.
Yeah.
So.
And it's kind of alluded that it might be Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, maybe.
Might be. But yeah, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Go watch it. I mean, just turn your brain off for an hour and a half to 2 hours and just enjoy it for what it is.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that movie like tonight now. Like,
it's a treat. It's a delight. It's an absolute delight. So another movie that I think is really underappreciated is the movie Clue.
Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah, with Tim, not Burton.
Oh my gosh.
I know him.
It's right there.
He played it. He played Pennywise, and not
and the original
Pennywise.
And he was in
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. Thank you.
Yeah. Tim Curry and I think Michael Keaton. Not Michael Keaton, but there's another Michael that's in it. Anyway, it's based off the board game, and it's almost as ridiculous as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is, except it's not as like fight-y kind of movie things. Essentially, it essentially happens where they all are at a dinner party. They all go by these aliases. They're all interconnected somehow, and there's a murder, and they try to solve it.
Yeah,
and it gets really crazy. And I think it ends up being Tim Curry that does it or something.
Well,
like that.
they do exactly what the
they do alternate endings.
Yeah, like it's like an hour and a half long, but like they do the story over like 5 times in the movie.
Yeah.
So that like it's it is Colonel Mustard in the foyer with a candlestick or something. Like it they do it all.
They do it all. It's really good. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And then for video games, there's a video game called Second Sight, which is kind of like this weird. It's almost in like the same vein as like Control, where it's like weird kind of psychokinetic power kind of thing, solving puzzles and mysteries and having to take out enemies. You can control people. It's really very much in the same vein of it. But I played on the PS2 a long time ago, and it was a really good game. So,
has that had any reincarnations or anything over the years?
No, it doesn't.
Standalone?
It hasn't. It's been standalone. It was not really. I mean, have you guys even heard of it?
I haven't.
No.
Exactly. I don't even know how I came across it, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think I was at like a GameStop and I picked it up and I was like, this is for me. Kind of like Control, or like you with Ratchet and Clank, Christian, where you're just like, yeah, I think this is for me. And I went home and I was like, yeah, this is for me. But kind of moving on from that, why do you think some of these have been overlooked, and do you think they should get maybe a second look at it and maybe move on like a sequel or some type of spinoff?
I mean, I think most of it is just they came out at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when the right time would have been, because at this point everything offends everybody, so it's really hard to say. Like, I don't know if Grandma's Boy would have made it. Like
Grandma's Boy would have been made today.
Like it would have had to come out at like the height of The Office.
Maybe I shouldn't be telling people to go watch this movie.
No, go watch the movie. It's so good. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just wrong time, because I feel like all the people that love it now were too young to watch it when it came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it had come out maybe like 6 years later, it might have done more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And when it like the Pendragon series, like I feel like it just didn't like.
I wasn't marketed right because I had never heard of this
Yeah, I was
until
gonna
you.
say I just don't think it was marketed well. Like I think that it really boiled down to he made a book series and either couldn't afford it or whatever, but
Also
it didn't.
at the time, that I was reading it, at least, it could just not have been marketed towards me.
Yeah, I think it was overshadowed by like Harry Potter and Pendragon, or not Pendragon, Percy Jackson
Yeah.
at the same time, and it just flew under the radar.
Which
Yeah.
I like the Percy Jackson movie, to be honest with you. I like both.
I did too. I wish they'd continued, but
Yeah.
You know, I'm very much in agreement that I think the reason that these kind of underappreciated media fall between the cracks is just that the publishing house, the you know movie production company or whatever behind it most likely doesn't have the funding to put forth as much as to the mainstream movies, games, or whatever into marketing and advertising. So just not as many people are aware of it. And then the other thing is just I think the market's just oversaturated, with games,
yeah,
movies, all of it. It's just
Yeah.
there's the ones that are all stars that are up on top that have like unlimited funding for advertising and marketing, and everybody knows about it. Doesn't matter how good or bad it is, you're going to know about that movie and most likely either go see it or know someone who has gone seen it. And then there's just pretty much everything else. And then sometimes you'll like see something get trending on social media and you're like, oh, what's that? And then it stirs this whole like cult following towards this niche game or movie. But
yeah, I don't know. Like, but like I like for Jack and Daxter in particular, I feel like if Naughty Dog at this point, if Naughty Dog announced that they were doing a Jack and Daxter game, it would blow up. Because of
yeah.
how popular Naughty Dog is now because of Uncharted and Last of Us.
But I feel like they'd have to do a similar thing that Insomniac did with Ratchet and Clank, where at this point in time, I think
It would have to be a reboot.
remake of the
Yeah.
original game. Yeah.
It would have to be something like that.
Well, any final thoughts on anything that we talked about today, guys?
No.
Totally go watch and play everything that we
Yeah,
suggested.
do
but if
do
you
all
get
of the
offended-
things. Definitely read Pendragon.
Listen to the songs we played, we talked about.
Yep, check out our website. It is always evolving. I am constantly adding stuff to it.
Yeah, Cody does a lot of good work into that. He puts a lot of time and energy in that. So please go check it out. I feel like I don't do enough to promote it. So please go check out our website. Kind of giving you guys a little snapshot of things coming ahead this week that we might be discussing about in next week's podcast. Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is apparently supposed to be 4 hours long, drops on the 18th. You can watch it on HBO Max. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier debuts on the 19th of March, which, after our deep dive into WandaVision, I'm sure that, we'll have things to discuss on that front right there. So, those are just topics we might be talking about next week. But hey, thanks for listening. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at SKO Entertainers, or visit our website, www.skoentertainment.net, for more information. Also, check out our YouTube channel for some Resident Evil. Also, check out our YouTube channel for some Resident Evil Let's Plays. I really can't talk today, as well as our first in our review series, Persona 5 Strikers, that I personally did myself. And finally, don't forget to join us next week, because even on the best of days, we all need some kind of entertainment. Bye.
See you guys.
See ya.